Can we talk about this ridiculous outfit I have on right now? It's literally like 11 o'clock at night, but I'm filming this now because I have to. Okay guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Addison. If you don't know, now you do, and this is my channel. Oh my god, I haven't said that in so long. I used to say that for every single video. This is every single book I've read so far this year. It's already July. I didn't film this last month because it was just a hectic month. But I've been in like a book slump, so technically this is what I read in the first 6 months of the year. Right now I'm drinking some iced sweet tea. That's my number 2 drink. It goes Dr. Pepper, sweet tea, iced coffee. Okay, let's get into this video. So I started the year off strong with a series. It was one of my favorite series of all time. The Twisted series. So I read Twisted Love, Twisted Games, Twisted Hate, and Twisted Lies in the order that it's supposed to be in. I guess, like, I know some people who've read it out of order and they still really enjoyed it. So, because they're all like intertwined, they're not the same characters, they're a friend group. I'm going to get into explaining what they're about, but it's written by Anna Hong. I love her writing. So the first one is about Ava and Alex. Alex is Ava's brother's best friend. Her brother goes out of town and asks Alex to like watch over her just to make sure she doesn't get into any trouble. They're like in college and such, and they fall for each other then. Twisted Games is about Bridget and Reese. I said his name so wrong for like until like this much left of the book. I said it wrong. Bridget is the princess of, I don't think it says, but she's a princess. He's her bodyguard. It's a forbidden romance. There you go. I don't want to spoil anything. Twisted Hate is about Ava's brother Josh from the first book and Ava's best friend Jules. It's been months since I read that, sorry. Honestly, this and Twisted Lies, I love all the books, but these were not as good as the first two. My favorite is Twisted Games. Twisted Lies is about Christian Harper. He's a businessman, multimillionaire. So is Alex, by the way. They're both rich. And Stella, who is a social media type of girl, like model, social media, and all that stuff. I love the backs of these books because they have like cute little quotes. Like this one's, "You're the light to my dark sunshine. Without you, I'm lost. Perhaps I was always meant to find you. Find my way to you. The possibility of you is better than the reality of anyone else. If my thoughts were chaos, she was my anchor. They always went back to her." Can I, like, why can't I have a man who says that stuff to me? So those are the first 4 books of the year. Next, I have 2 books that I really didn't hear of. This one I saw on Amazon. It's The Upside of Falling by Alex Light. It's a Wattpad original. It's super, super short. Text is pretty big. I saw it on Amazon before it was even out, and I read the back of it and I was really interested, so I was like, might as well. It was a cheap book, a quick read, just what I needed. I'm gonna have to read the back to remember. Wow, I honestly don't remember this. I might reread it soon, just to hopefully get me out of my slump. It's basically about Becca and Brett. Becca, accidentally like slips that she's seeing someone secretly to her best friend who won't, or her former best friend who won't stop teasing her about being single. Brett overhears it, it's a lie, and he steps in and is basically her fake boyfriend. Yeah, I'm gonna have to reread this. I have all of the books like sprawled out on my floor right now in order, and then like there's 3 of them that I don't have with me right now, or I don't own and I borrowed on that journal. Let me pull up this thing. I have Goodreads and I keep it like super updated, so y'all should go follow me on there. every single time I like put down a book for the day or something, I'll update where I am on it. So my nose like itches. And then this one, I honestly don't know how I found it and why I read it. It took me an hour to finish at school. It's Rule Number 1, You Can't Date the Coach's Daughter. I think it's actually a series. Yeah, it says book 1 down here. Like, but look how short this is. And the font is huge. So once again, if you need a quick little read, this one I rated 3 stars, but if you need a quick read. This is basically the title. She's the coach's daughter. The dad hates him. And there you go. Next is definitely a popular one. Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. I read this while I was on the cruise. Like, y'all know what I'm talking about. While I was on a cruise. I rated this one surprisingly 5 stars. I don't know why I rated it so high, honestly. Not that it wasn't a good book. I can't even remember what it's about. I do. So B is this like smart woman in STEM, you know. She also has this fake, not really fake account, but like she has this Twitter account where she's like, what would Maria Curie do? Which I don't know if she's a real person or what, but like apparently she was such an idol to all these women in STEM. And she runs that. And then Levi works at NASA. They're enemies from college, and she gets a call offering her a job to work on her project over at NASA, and she takes it, finds him there, and they hate each other. So it's enemies to lovers in the workplace. Yeah, I guess it was 5 stars. I honestly don't remember it that well. I do remember some really cute parts from it, and I'm a sucker for cute parts, so that might be why. Next is the only Colleen Hoover book I've read this year. It's really surprising because I have a collection of Colleen Hoover books right here, and I used to be such a big fan. It might be because I've read like almost, oh no, I've read 2. I just don't have the physical copy of it. We'll get to that one later. But Verity, I really did enjoy. So I thought I would read Layla. And I thought I would have a different opinion than everybody on TikTok, but I rated it 3 stars. He's mentally insane, and I couldn't get past that. That's all I'm gonna say. Next is one of my favorite books of all time, got me into hockey, really popular book talk book. It's Icebreaker by Hannah Grace, and have y'all seen her TikToks? They're so good. Like, I love just watching book talks, and not only like just reviews. I actually don't really ever watch reviews of books. I watch like the edits, if you know what I mean, like quotes. This one I gave 5 stars, of course. Anastasia is a figure skater. Is a figure skater. He's a hockey player. Her partner is injured. He's suspended for injuring her partner. So he takes on her partner's role and helps with her figure skating because she's pissed at him. And he wants to, like, you know, get her forgiveness. They hated each other. She hates hockey guys in general. I will never understand that. Next is a series that I have not yet to finish because I have not bought the rest of the books, and I really badly want to. I will explain in a second, but it's Addicted to You by Krista and Becca. I cannot speak tonight. Krista and Becca Ritchie. This one's also really popular. I've seen it everywhere. Yeah, I really like this cover. I read this while I was at school. I don't recommend, but I gave it 5 stars. The average rating is actually 3.8. It's about this girl who is addicted to sex. Her best friend's addicted to alcohol, so they cover each other's secrets up to their family and pretend that they're in a relationship for the past few years. When they hit rock bottom, that's where the story takes place. Everything comes crashing down, and they find security in each other. I don't know, I just like how the main storyline was not actually their romance, but it was them getting past their struggles. And I read this book at the perfect timing because of things going on in my life. It felt like, not that I was heard, but like it felt like I had some understanding of what was going on around me. Yeah, so I did really, really enjoy this book. I keep saying that. Next, I read Funny You Should Ask by Elisa Sussman. I just started the new book, Once More with Feeling. They're not connected in any way. So this book is about this interviewer girl and this famous guy. She interviewed him one time. It was a very, very famous interview. It took, like, of course, after a couple of days. Everybody wants to know what happened. And then a few years later, he's kind of not doing the best in his career. She just got divorced. Everybody's like, give us a new like interview 10 years later compared to the new or old one. And so they do it, they reconnect, you find out what happened actually during the first one. And yeah, I do love books that have like either textile bubbles, I don't know why, it just makes me so happy, or like newsletters like that. This one I gave 4 stars, and I still agree with that. I rate books pretty highly, but usually because I choose very, very carefully on what I read. And here's another series, but it's not the same one. It's The Fine Print by Lauren Asher. Praise this book. 5 stars. It's about Rowan and Zara. I never got that name right, and I hope I'm saying it correctly. And Zara. This is about Rowan's grandpa who dies and owns this like kind of like Disneyland, Disney World, like theme park called Dreamland. And when he dies, he has a will that says all 3 of the brothers have to complete something to get their shares. They want to get their shares because it's either them or someone else. Let me catch my breath. Okay. He meets this girl, Zara, and he thinks that it's a good idea to hire her. And then he kisses her. And then everything's like out of control. He needed her help with something and texted her under an alias, a fake name. Yeah. Alias, that's the word I was looking for. And then here's the first one that I don't have the physical copy of, but I read the second book to the Addicted series, Ricochet. This one was a lot shorter, and I rated it 5 stars. I just had one problem with it, and it was Lily, is that her name? Yeah, Lily's sister and Lauren's, like, I guess, I can't say that. Yeah, no, you have to read the first book to know, but like the guy, their relationship since she's like 15 years old and he's like 28, that's disgusting. I know that they actually have a romantic plot in like the next few books, which grosses me out, but I do know that she's an adult in those books. But it's the fact, I mean, okay, nothing actually did happen. The sister just flirted because she was trying to be like, you know, she was a teenager. He never did anything. He was grossed out by the fact too, so I guess that's okay, but still, it kind of made me a little bit uncomfortable. But the book is basically just continuing from the very end of Addicted to You. It's really hard to talk about second, like not the first book of a series, but like every book after that, because it takes place after the first one, so you can't spoil anything. I talk a lot, Jesus. Okay. Then I read Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. Sheridan. This is about a guy named Archer who is mute, and this girl named Bree. Anyways, this girl named Bree moves to this small town, is drawn in by this mysterious quiet boy in the town. So she wants to find out more, but like she finds out that he's mute, she knows sign. So yeah, he's very like closed away because of his trauma and his past, and it gets more into that for sure. Yeah, I sobbed to this book. It's very heartbreaking, but definitely deserves 5 stars. Okay, then we got back into some mystery. I think I only read 2 mystery books this year, and this is the second one. And I guess Layla's not even a mystery, but I read The Perfect Marriage. This one I had been eyeing on TikTok for a while. I'm not the biggest mystery fan. I prefer romance, clearly, as you can tell from like the 14 books before this one. Yeah, I really prefer romance, and this had like absolutely no romance, like romantic subplots in it, really, in my opinion. But it didn't really bother me. This is by Geneva Rose. It's about this guy who is having an affair on his wife, who's an attorney. When the woman who he's having an affair, the mistress, is found dead in their second home where the husband has been meeting up with her. She's found dead. The wife decides to take on the case and defend her husband. And yeah, it goes from there. It was actually a great story. I just got the biggest spoiler of all time. Like, I don't know if it was like the epilogue or something. Whatever I see. The epilogue or something that the line was set in, but it gave away everything, and I saw a TikTok about it because of my obsession with like those quote TikToks that I watched that I was talking about earlier. If I hadn't have seen that, I would have loved this even more. I recommended this to my teacher, who I talk about all books to because she reads too. All right, and we're back into another series, the 4th series that I started this year. This one I did finish, for sure. It's the Off-Campus series. I have the goal, but Caden's borrowing it right now. It's at her house. All of these... Oh, I guess not. Okay, so The Deal got 5 stars. It's about Grace and Garrett, or not Grace. It's about Hannah and Garrett. He's a hockey captain. She's a little singer, and I love the way that she's fan casted as Gracie Abrams. That makes me so happy. And that was right as I was getting to like my Gracie era. So yeah, that made this book all the time better. I want to reread this actually really badly. 5 stars. Then I read The Mistake, which I gave 4 stars. It's John Logan. He goes by Logan. And Grace, he's on the hockey team. Her dad's a teacher. But like that's not really a problem in the book. It's just mentioned a few times. Yeah. And there's The Score, which I gave 5 stars. It's about Allie and Dean. Love them. He's a little like ladies' man. She's the best friend to Hannah from the first book. The Goal, which I gave 4 stars. And The Legacy, I gave 3 stars because it was more like an epilogue book. It talks about the stories of all 4 couples, and it's a pretty short book, so it's like they get this much per couple. It was great, but I didn't feel like I needed it, you know? It's kind of like It Starts With Us to It Ends With Us. We didn't really need it. It was a good book. Wouldn't reread that one. I continued another series because I had to wait on like the book to get here. I guess I had time for 6 books in between, but I read Terms and Conditions, which is Declan and Iris. This is my favorite book of the series. I guess book number 2 is always my favorite. Declan has to get married and have a baby to get his inheritance. Iris is his assistant. This one's actually a pretty long book. No, compared to the final offer, it's not. I gave this 5 stars, of course. Favorite book in the series. We love Declan. I wish I could find myself a Declan, a rich boss man. It's kind of toxic. Well, aren't they all? And then after that one, I read Slammed by Colleen Hoover. The second Colleen Hoover book I read. Yeah. It was a filler book because I ordered her final offer and I really was on a roll of reading, and if I waited, I wasn't going to read it. If the age gap between Lily's sister and the friend in Ricochet bothered y'all, this one's gonna bother y'all because she's a high school student and he's a teacher. Let's hear it for that. Technically, he's a student teacher. He's only a year older. She's moving. I could have sworn I just heard "Don't Blame Me" coming from my brother's room. Anyways, Slammed. Yeah. He's a student teacher, only a year older. They're neighbors. Kind of bothered me, but at the same time, they were really cute together. And I hate that I'm saying that because that just shouldn't be a thing. Next, I finished up the Dreamland Billionaire series with Final Offer. Callahan and Alana. It's a second chance romance, small town romance. He has to move into this house for a summer that he promised his ex that he would never visit again. He said, "I won't go here. I promise." And then he does. But it turns out the house belongs to someone else. Wonder who it could be. 5 stars. And then I read this one book for school, and I enjoyed it at first, but I ended up giving it 2 stars. It's called Love, Hate, and Other Filters by Samira Ahmed. I don't know how to say her name. It's just about this like American Muslim girl who goes to high school and has to choose between this guy who her parents strongly approve of, want her to be with, or this guy who she's been in love with for years. It was a love triangle, but it wasn't very triangle for long, if that makes any sense. My hair is so dead, but I'm getting it done in a few weeks. Yeah, I gave it 2 stars. His average rating is actually 3.76, so I wasn't that far off. The last 2 books I read were Beach Read, which I read on the beach, ironic I know, by Emily Wait, let me grab it. I have a love-hate relationship with her books. I loved Book Lovers. This one I DNF'd for 2 or 3 months and got back into, and then there's People We Meet on Vacation, which I don't think I will ever end up getting to. I apologize. This one is about this girl who's a writer and this guy who's also a writer. He writes historical fiction. He writes literary fiction, sorry. She writes romance. They didn't like each other in college, and now they're neighbors because she has to sell her dad's whorehouse. That's very, very dramatic. There was one woman. Yeah, they're neighbors, and they decide to take on a challenge and swap genres of books and write them because they're both in like slumps. They have writer's block, and so they decide to help each other. And last and finally, definitely 100% not least, is King of Wrath, the first book of the King of Sin series by Anna Hong. We'll throw back to the beginning of the year. He actually does show up in Twisted Lies, so I guess I could hold these two together. Anyways, this is about Declan. Why did I say that? This is a completely different series. This is about Dante Russo and Vivian Lau. They're in an arranged marriage because he's blackmailed into it. We find out why. They are in a very public relationship and such. And yeah. And then it was like, craving his touch was never part of the plan. Neither was the worst possible outcome, falling in love with her future husband. Gasp. He is completely against relationships. I don't think he ever did have one other than her. Like an actual one. I love Dante Russo. She continued the little quotes at the top. It says, "She was my North Star, the brightest jewel in my sky." I need an Anna Hong man. I don't care if they murder some people. I'm looking at you, Dante. Anyways, that's all of the books that I've completed this year. It's all the books I've read this year and started or DNF'd. Hope you guys enjoyed.